Steve, another week has gone by. How are you?
I'm absolutely spondylicious, Mark.
Spondylicious? What kind of word is that?
I don't know. I think it's good. It's like
Spondoolies.
Spondoolies, yeah. So I'm spondylicious.
I'll have to learn that.
I think you should. Well, you've always been good at speaking gobbledygook, so you
Yes,
can just add
all
that
my
one
life.
to it. Yeah, add that one to it, mate.
Well, thinking about life and thinking about learning,
Yeah,
those who fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it, aren't they?
they are apparently.
And those who fail to clear their history are doomed to explain it.
Yeah,
Something
That's
about
it.
history.
something about history, right? We like history, don't we?
We love history. But interestingly, we've got history. We are now senior citizens. Well, I am. You're not quite there yet.
We're veterans, mate. We're veterans. Veterans. Veterinaries.
Friedrich Nietzsche had this concept of eternal recurrence. If you had to relive your entire life, every joy and sorrow, every triumph and defeat for an eternity, would you still choose the path you're on? So I was thinking, would you do your life all over again?
If you had to live it exactly the same way as you've done it before,
And you know you're doing it.
and you know you're doing it, I'd live my life again. Yeah, of course I would, because I think where I am now, those trials, those joys, those issues have made me into the type of person that I am. But would I going through all of this crap knowing this crap? That would be really hard. But if I could do it again and change it, then there's things I'd change, of course.
Yeah. I would say, yes, I would happily live it again.
Yeah.
According to Reddit, no one would.
Really? Why would you not? When I look back over the years of my life to date, but neither of us are old men, octogenarians or anything like that. So when I look back over the years of my life and I think to myself, if I was to crystallise all of the good and put it on one side, all of the crap and put it on the other, my life has been way better than bad. And I don't mean better in terms of my behaviour. If I was to stick my behaviour on the scales, my behaviour might not weigh as well. But in overall trajectory of my life, it's been so much better than bad. I consider myself so fortunate, despite the challenges that I've had to date and despite the challenges that I will have in the future. I've got great experiences of life. I've travelled all around the world like you have. I've seen some amazing stuff at times when we could walk without being concerned about which country we were walking in or who was around us, where we could be free to express ourselves in all sorts of different ways. I think we're really fortunate.
You're very fortunate. You met me twice.
I know.
So how
Yeah.
fortunate can you be?
You're like a bad penny, you keep turning up.
And it looked old when you found it.
I know.
I mean, facetiously, I would gladly live it again. But I would ask, why would I need to? Because I'm not necessarily a great believer that you live life to learn lessons. But I feel that if I was to look at the trajectory of my life, I have. And some were learned quite late, and some are still being learned. But I think overall, it's been a pleasant life. It was almost as though, if it is ever the case you sign up as you want your life to run out, I must have said, look, get all the crap over in the first 6 years. Let's get beyond that and then start to enjoy it. Because I joined the Navy, we went around the world, I met my girl, now wife, and we've been married now for 36 years. We've got great kids and we've moved country and got grandchildren, met you again doing this.
Hang about a minute. Were you talking about your life or mine? Because that's like a complete mirror of everything I've done.
Isn't it?
It really is.
We talked about that, didn't we?
I know. It's just as you were
What's
going
the
through
chances?
that. We looked at that, didn't we? What did it come out as? Extraordinarily improbable.
1 in a billion, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. An extraordinary, improbable coincidence. You made that comment, you don't think you necessarily live life to learn lessons. And when I was saying that, I was thinking, no, I think that what you do is you learn lessons as you live life.
Yes.
And I think that's the way it goes. You know, I've learned so many lessons as I've lived life. And I've been fortunate enough to track far enough into life to be able to learn those lessons. Some people don't get the chance to learn them. Some people don't get the chance to make the mistake. Some people are cut short. Their time is cut so short because their lesson takes them out. When I think back of my young life and all sorts of different things, I think, gosh, how fortunate am I? I've been given the opportunity to learn a lesson that somebody else might have not had the opportunity to do. They would have been struck off and dead.
That happened to me. I said to you before, there was a moment, it was 1984. I got back from the Gulf on HMS Aurora. I'd left her in April, had a couple of weeks leave, went up to Leicester, met an old guy who himself, his family was from Inverness. So we went up there. It was a great drunken holiday all the way through. But we went to, near Elgin, I think, there was a load of cliffs. We'd had a few pints, and we went to the cliff to look over. I slipped And by rights, I should have literally rolled off the edge, and it was like a 200-foot drop. I wouldn't have made it. Not really in touch with this guy now, but he said it was amazing. You just seemed to suddenly stop. You should have carried on. Your whole momentum, it was almost against like nature. You stopped. And I remember looking down. It was weird. That I can't explain apart from I don't think it was my time. It was not the lesson I was meant to have gone through.
Some of the things that I did, some of the strokes that I've been pulled, I think to myself, oh my goodness, I woke up sober the next morning thinking, why am I sat on top of this rooftop? How did I get up here? So you realise that I've scaled the flipping wall outside, climbing up drain pipes, and I'm like 50 foot up, and it's like, what on earth is all that about?
Wow.
Other people would fall off a balcony because they've sat on it wrong because they're a bit drunk and they plunge to their death. And you think to yourself, yep, well, I learnt my lesson. I didn't go scaling walls anymore. I didn't go doing this anymore. But not everybody's as fortunate as that. As I've learned lessons, I hope and I pray that the lessons that I've learned, I don't forget the outworking of what I need to remember from them. Don't ever forget the lessons.
Is life a classroom? And did I pay attention? Did I learn to lose my ego? Did I care for others? I can't explain it. I don't even know if it's correct, but I wonder if that's what I'm here for. Why are we here, Steve? What is the point of life? Now, you'll have your own opinion on this,
Of course.
but you can talk about that on our other channel.
I will, so I won't go into that here. I'll touch on it sort of tangentially. There is a purpose to life, and is to move into relationship with God. Who God is, what God is, those are topics of conversation for another channel. But I would say that's the purpose of life. I believe that we are spirits with a body, not bodies with a spirit. We live in a spiritual world, that the whole of this planet is spiritual. And that means that when we eventually discard the thing that coats us at the moment and encases us, we step into a realm of spirit, which is infused throughout this world. What that looks like, I can't tell you. What that feels like, I can't tell you. My faith position helps me to make sense of that. I think it's Bertrand Russell who says the sort of logical thing, if you don't believe any of that, well, finish it. And you go, well, I don't think that's an option. I don't think that's
And he's an
option.
interesting man to
That's
consider
right.
that.
Yeah, but that's like the logical outworking of an atheistic worldview. It takes you nowhere, and you can make all of these strange rules to live by, these golden rules, but they don't anchor on anything. They're just your view. They're subjective, your truth, my truth. There's nothing to anchor, not really anchor on, other than, well, I just want to be a good person, which is great. Be a good person. Much better to be a good person and live your life and die than be a bad person and live your life and die.
You mentioned that we're spirit with bodies, but you wouldn't accept that this is not the only body that spirit's had.
No, so reincarnation, do you mean?
I don't know. I don't know whether it is that. There's world traditions that talk about that.
I don't buy into reincarnation, no. I don't think that you live multiple lives over and over and over, that you come back as a slug or you come back as a... but, I don't believe that. I think that the human spirit is something else. There are strange things that happen, right? Weird stuff that you just cannot explain very easily in a very logical, scientific mindset. I'm pretty logical. I'm pretty analytical. I understand science. I also understand what science does and what it doesn't do. And what it never does is answer the why questions of life, because it can't, because that's not what it's set up for. I understand a little bit of theology. I understand a little bit of philosophy. I understand certain things. But I don't think that we go back into a reincarnation state. That's not something I think, but I do think strange things happen. We get those déjà vu moments, don't we?
All over again.
There are these odd things that happen, those déjà vu moments, where you're suddenly thinking, hang about a minute, have I done this before? Now, I've had those moments, and I've probably told you this before, actually, but I've had those moments like when I've gone to a play, and I've been with people, and they said, we need to find somewhere that we need to go and park. I said, go down here and turn right. And they go, what, you been here? I went, no, but I know that there's a street down there, there's a car park. How do you know that? I don't know, but I know it. And sure enough, you go down there, park up, and you're right. And I get out and I walk the street, and I'm looking around and going, yeah, I know this place. This place is really, really familiar to me.
So how do you account for that?
I think it was Skegness. Skeggy. So that's, for those that don't know, that's like a holiday destination on the East Coast, right?
It is, yeah.
And it's not the most salubrious holiday destination. Would that be fair to say?
A bit like Great Yarmouth. When the tide's out, it's mud flats everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. But it is by the sea, and you go to the seaside, and so if you didn't come from the flashiest of families, you'd go to Skeggy. And they had like helter-skelters and all, they had fun fairs and that sort of stuff. And this was a long time ago, and I was thinking, gosh, that's really weird. How do I know this place? I've never been here. And so remember ringing up my mum and dad, and I was chatting to them. This was when I was in the forces, and I said to my mum, when we were little, did we go to Skegness on holiday? And she said, no, we'd always go down to Devon. I said, oh, right. Oh, okay, I just wondered. She said, why? And I said, oh, because, I've been there with some friends and I just knew the place. I don't know how. And she said, oh, right. Anyway, then I get on the phone, I'm chatting to my dad, and then the phone back from mum to say cheerio and this sort of thing. And she says, I do remember us going to Skegness once. Your dad and I went when I was pregnant with you.
Well, yeah, I remember you saying that. Now.
Yeah. And I'm like, that really fascinates me because I knew that place. I knew the walk, I knew the street. So that intrigues me. Some sort of imprint from the mother. I don't know. It's weird. But, it just speaks that there's a flow of all sorts of different things that come into your system from different inputs, and you can't always explain them.
We went down to Oriwa, which is not far from us, with our grandson, my wife and I, a couple of weekends ago, and we wanted to go and find a camera shop. I was thinking of buying a camera, which is very disappointing because if you go into any camera shop now, they don't do the old SLRs.
No.
They're all like these little flogging ones. I mean, where's the bloody zoom and all that? It's all gone. Anyway, we couldn't remember where it was. But my grandson, who's 6, said, oh, it's down there. And he's never been there. And we thought, okay, let's humour him. And he was right. He knew.
Funny, isn't it?
He's not been there before.
No. Wonder if your daughter had, though.
Yes, possibly. Yeah,
you should ask her.
When she was pregnant. Yeah, I'll have to do that.
You ask her. You ask her if she's ever been there. It's interesting.
Would you change anything?
There's lots of things in terms of growing up. Would I change the family that I came from? No, I wouldn't. Would I change my siblings or my parents? No, not at all. Would I change the town that I grew up in, the village that I grew up in? No, not in the slightest. Would I change my grandparents? No. Would I change the school that I went to? No. Would I work harder at school? Absolutely. Would I leave school and join the forces? Yep, I'd still join the forces. Would I leave school at 15 and join the forces? Probably not. I had a great time in the Royal Navy. Would I try and have gone in at a better level and progressed better in the forces? Yep. Would I have drunk less and worked harder? Probably. But I didn't. Would I have left the forces and come out into policing? Yep, because it was better for my family. Are there lots of things in my relationships at home and as the children were growing up that I'd have done differently? Oh, yeah, hell yeah. I'd have been a lot more present if I could have been. Would I have emigrated? That's an interesting one. Maybe I would. I've always liked travelling and moving around a bit. I don't know.
To New Zealand?
I don't know if I would have done or not. That doesn't mean to say that I regret having done that. If I had behaved differently in my life up to that point, would I have emigrated? Possibly not. But I didn't behave differently, so I did. In a spiritual context on it, I think I had to be taken out of that area up there and brought down here in order to get in touch with other things. And I think that's why that was all part of that. Which, if I had behaved differently up there, then maybe that wouldn't have been necessary. But it was necessary. I don't know, but would I have continued doing the type of work that I've done? Probably. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. Had a very successful career to the point that I got to. Yeah. So there's not a lot that I would change. I would change some of my personal choices that had a negative impact on other people. That's probably what I'd change most. Personal choices that hurt other people. They were fine for me, they satisfied me, but they weren't good for others. That's the sort of thing I'd change, I think. But the big stuff, no.
Personally, I wouldn't change anything, even the bad things. I shut out my first 6 years, but it's made me me. And I've inherited the DNA and I've inherited the mannerisms. Even throughout life, the redundancies, the dark night of the soul. I often think that bad things that occur to me may not necessarily be just for me to learn from. People who observe, who may have thought, well, he got up again and maintained his positivity. You don't always have to go down the route of being negative, and believe me, I was for a long time. You can turn things around, whatever your age. I don't think I've ever lost my self-worth. I probably curbed it back a lot compared to when we knew each other. I probably would have done more art, and I definitely would have come to New Zealand. And like you, I've always had this feeling, however well I get on in a job, even when it's not been made redundant, I've kind of thought, this is not for me, I need to move on. And I couldn't say why I needed to move on, but it turned out it's to meet someone or to do something or to get something up and running. Definitely do feel that's been there. And I'm absolutely convinced we were meant to meet each other again.
Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, I think. And I think the sort of comms that we've had outside of just doing this every week is demonstrated that as well. I just think it has. And even getting our wives together, which was a really good thing. That was excellent. Yeah.
which we'll be doing again later.
Yeah, and catching up with your family as well, which is lovely to do.
Well, like you said, when we came in, or when my daughter came in with her son, you'd already seen that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was quite weird. When I looked at it, I thought, flipping heck, I know you. Where do I know you from? And I know your little boy. Where do I know him from?
It's similar before I pressed that share button on Facebook with the Aurora and the Charybdis groups. I resisted it for a long time. And then I had this vivid dream in which everyone on HMS Charybdis, Andy and you and whatever, will say, join us, come and join us. And I did. And there you go. Got a quote from Andy Warhol. He said, it's not to live forever, but to create something that does. And I asked myself, have I made a difference that will be remembered? And apart from the children and the grandchildren, yeah, we made a difference there. I'd like to think that I've made a difference that will be remembered.
Yeah, I think you have. I'm sure you
Books, this, friendships. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that I have. I hope that I have. I think that everything is about legacy, right? In what I've done over the years, I have had a modicum of success. I have helped a number of people in their lives in terms of their professional development and where they're now moving on. And I so love seeing those people that have done so well. And with what I do on our other channel and in the sort of faith position that I hold, I have spoken countless times now and taught across a whole plethora of things. Maybe that will be of value to somebody downstream. It's certainly been of value to some people, and we have an audience on our channels who listen to some of that. Not enough listen to it on my channel, but on our channel they listen to it. But you know, when I was doing what I used to do, you'd have something called a brush contact. And the brush contact is where you pass somebody to somebody, or you take something from somebody and they pass you a message or do all that sort of thing. But the idea is that you either take or you leave something. And I have tried, not all through my life, but over probably the last decade and a half, pushing to 2 decades now, to try and leave something a bit more positive on somebody, so that when I do brush alongside them, they go away with something positive, not negative.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, very good.
I'm most unlikely to ever be the Prime Minister of this country. I'm most unlikely to be knighted or to end up in the highest echelons of power and all of that sort of thing.
Would you want that at the moment?
Probably not. But I'm most unlikely to get into any of those places of what the world would see as being significant. But, you know, for the people around me, I do my best, right? Do my best. And that's it.
But you and I know they're not that significant.
Yeah.
There's more important things on.
There are indeed. We do know that.
So I think it's an interesting question. Would you do it all over again? I would, gladly. But I would rather it that I didn't know that I was doing it all over again. Because then you lose all the surprise. And there's been some lovely surprises.
Oh gosh, yeah. And there's been a few nightmares.
Yeah. But you don't think about that.
Oh dear. All right, mate.
On that regard, see you next week then.
Later. Take care, buddy. Bye.